All right, welcome back. We're going to work on lesson 4 today, and I'm going to show you the input functions and type coercion. So the first thing that we're going to go over is using the input function. So when I type this piece of code in, input, this is actually a function that is recognized by Python. And what it does is it creates a little prompt, or you can ask a question in it that someone can answer. So it's a way for the user to give data back to the program. And this is very, very useful. We're going to be using it from now on. So I use the keyword input, and inside I put something in it that I want to show up on the screen. So let me give you an example. Let me go over to Replit and give you an example. So here, if I use the keyword input, and I can actually press return here because it's going to fill it in for me, and it gives me information about this. So what is your name? Question mark. Okay, whoops, I don't need that. All right, and I hit run. It creates a little prompt here, and this gray space is for me to type something in. So I could say Quint. Now, the thing is that I haven't stored the name Quint anywhere. It shows on the black screen, but it doesn't get sent back to the program, so it's not stored. So if I want to store it, I can go to the left of the input, and I can create a variable. Okay, so here, whatever the user types in is stored in the variable called name. So if I hit run right here, what is your name? If I say Dr. Quint right here, it's stored in name. Now if I said print name, I could see what the user gave me. Okay, let's say that I say Will. Say my name is Will. See, it prints out Will. So in this way, we can start creating an interaction between the computer programmer, you, and the user. So potentially also you, but also maybe other people as well. So this is how you would create a simple game. Okay? So we covered, the input function, then always store it back to a variable there. Now you can do some more fancy stuff, like you can concatenate and you can say hi. If I wanted to, I could say hi plus I want to use this as a string. Hi. So hi is actually a string, and then name is not a string. It is the value of it's a string, but I don't put quotes around it because it's a variable name. So what is your name? Let's say it's Will again. It's just easier to write. Hi, Will. Oh, and I might want to put a space right there to create a space inside there. Okay. All right, so that's how you'd use the input function. That's one way to use it. One thing to notice is that everything that comes back from the input function is a string itself. So let's say that I want to modify this input and I want to get someone's age. So what is your age? I want to say age. And I want to take your age and say you are, and then concatenate it with the age variable and put a space there, years old, right? So I put a space here, a space there, and I run it again, say I'm 12, you are 12 years old. This is actually okay. I can concatenate it with, because age is a string. It's coming in, it looks like it's going to be a number, but it's actually a string because everything coming in from the input is a string. So this is okay, but if I wanted to take age and add it to another number like 34, it's going to have a problem with that because age is a string and it's not a number. So that's okay. And then it runs into a problem on line 3 because it says it must be a string, or either I have to have them both as strings or I have to have them both as ints. And right now this is not an int, it's a string. So I'm going to show you how to change that. Okay, and that's the next big idea, which is type coercion. So if I want to change the data type. So here, other data types can be turned into strings by quote. So if I say print quote 45 plus 67 plus 100, it's going to actually just give me that whole mathematical statement out with the addition signs. All right, so the mathematical operations are actually not done because this is recognized by the program as a string. It's not recognized as numbers. There's going to be times where you want to do that, and there's going to be times where you actually want it to add for you. So in order to change things, okay, what you can do, one way to do type coercion is actually just put quotes around numbers, and that coerces numbers into being text or into string. But another thing that you can do is you can wrap this function around something, so a string and an int. So if I say string 5, that is essentially putting quotes around it. Okay, if I say string hey, it just returns hey back because hey is already a string. Now, this is, again, if the data is coming into you from an input function and it's of a certain type and you want to change that type, you can use type coercion. Coercion means that it's changing it into something else. It's forcing it to be something else, a different data type. Or I can use this int right here, and I can put, like, let's say that I put a string into it, it's going to return a number back. Okay, but if I try to put a string that is a word in here, it's going to give me an error. So let me show you this Replit example here. So let's, for instance, say I want to take someone's age, and for some reason I want to add 34 to it. Right here it's going to have a problem. Well, what I could do on the outside is I go int and put an int on the outside. And that way when I run it, it's actually going to be fine because the input, before it gets stored in the variable, like think about your parentheses in mathematics, you go from the inside out. So first you ask for the input, and then whatever comes in from your input function is immediately passed through the int function. So that forces it to be an integer and not a string. And that way I can take an integer and add it to another integer. Now, if I ran this and I put a word in it, it's going to have an error and say that int can't be used for a string, essentially. So it can't be used for the word hello because it doesn't, you need something with base 10, essentially. Okay, so that's going to come in very handy a little bit later on. So two big things that we learned today: how to use the input function and how to modify some of the data that comes in from the input function and convert it into a different data type if we need that. Okay, and that's it.